Welcome back. I'm Eric Sapanic. This is John Caro. This is the Gold Spot. Jamie Dimon's got something to say. What is he talking about?
He did an interview last week in which he talked about managing risk for the future. They keep asking him, what about today? What about last year? And he keeps saying, you got to look to the future. You got to be prepared to manage the risk that's coming. And he's concerned that most people and most governments don't do that. And he was very insistent on that. And you can't argue with his track record. And what we're seeing now is the markets are starting in the retail levels to reflect that kind of thinking by the individual investors. People in Asia are buying a lot of gold. People here are starting to move in that direction.
I found what was interesting about his discussion is he keeps saying, forget about what's happening right now and today. It's about what's going to happen 1 year, 2 years from now, because much like the '08 crisis, the reverb of that was something that happened for years to follow. And that, I believe, is where his concerns are. He said, we might not see rates come down. Matter of fact, this inflation might not stop. It might just keep going.
And he's willing to say he doesn't know, but he wants to prepare, and he's telling everyone else they should do that.
And I think he makes a fair point when he says the future is hard to predict. And it is, especially when you're trying to get it through a year-by-year type of prediction, which is something that we all try to do with the numbers that we have at hand. But right now we know that China seems to be playing a heck of a defensive position. Tell us more about what's going on with China right now.
Well, in China, the reports that we see, not only is the central bank buying gold by the ton, the average citizen, if you can say that about China, is buying retail-sized gold bars at the fastest pace ever. They're worried about their own economy, they're worried about the world, and they're putting whatever money they have into gold because it's the one thing they can control physically.
And reports that we're seeing right now is also that they are surpassing India when it comes to retail consumption.
Yeah.
Which that is something that never happens. I mean, the Indian marketplace, their wedding season alone drives our overall industry when that happens. So seeing something like that shows that there's not only a mass consumption through the central banking, but also obviously a influx of people that are trying to concern their own well-being themselves in that country right now.
And they're buying at the fastest pace ever in terms of the companies and the consultants who keep track of these things.
And they're not fussing around.
And it's not going to slow down.
All right. The other thing is that we want to talk about is really right now one of the things that we need to concern ourselves with also is the mass illegal immigration problem in this country. If we look at, one of the things that's been trending a lot right now on Twitter, Elon Musk talking about this and other big influential people, is the real number of illegal immigration. Right now, we believe that it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 22 million people. And what's really something that's you need to take in is, well, what does that mean for social service programs in the nation? So we did a little bit of digging, and the ASPE, the Office of Human Services, went ahead and in 2023 released a report of what had happened in 2019. And that's that 99.1 million people participated in one of 10 programs discussed, and the data points represented 30% of the U.S. population. More than 1 in 4 working age adults, 27%, and nearly 1 in every 2 children, 49%, participated in a safety net program. Nearly 1 in 8 adults, 12%, and 1 in 3 children, 33%, participated in a multiple safety net programs. The most common program combinations include the Medicaid, the Earned Income Tax Credit, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Among beneficiaries, 47% of all adults and 2 out of 3 children, 67%, participated in multiple programs. So we're not talking about a social services program that doesn't have many people participating in it. No, and therein lies my big concern. So what happens when you introduce 9 million people in the last 4 years, 22 million total? They're not just here making their own way, they need assistance. So what's your thoughts on that, John?
Somebody has to feed them, someone has to house them, someone has to give them medical care, someone has to pay for all this. That's 121 million people that the government in one way or another is funding on a daily basis. They don't have the money for that. So they're going to come after our assets. They're going to keep creating money out of thin air, and inflation is going to go up.
And that, I think, is one of the things that we need to concern ourselves. Do you have to continue to create the money in order to fund these types of programs? And not to mention, we haven't even talked about one of your favorites to talk about, which is Social Security.
Don't get me started.
No, it's, I mean, we're talking about one of the largest unfunded liabilities in this country, and that's not even something that we're considering when talking about these types of numbers.
That's another 70 million people.
Right. So these are all things that are going to be very influential in inflation. Hence the reason why gold right now is something that the larger nations that are already on the defense are swallowing up whole. I hate to have to say it this way, but the American public is always the last ones to really react to something like this. The majority, I mean, our clients are smart, they're proactive, they're trying to get ahead of it, but the majority of people come rushing in after the towers are starting to tumble. And that's something that I think our clients need to also consider, that you are ahead of the game at this point if you're involved. And if you want to get more involved, now's the time to do it, because the big boys are playing, and they are playing for real.
And the average American retail customer is still very complacent. It's not going to happen here. It's not going to happen in our country. It's going to happen over there. And we know that doesn't work.
With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off for today. Thank you for joining us once again here on the Gold Spot, and have a great weekend. If you enjoyed today's Gold Spot, like or subscribe to both our YouTube or our Rumble channels. Also, comment below if you have any questions, or if you want to hear us talk about something specific in a future video.